Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the Pan Global Exploration Update. We're going to do a few introductory comments to get the Pan Global webinar started this morning, as many are still joining us. It's a wonderful opportunity for not only the shareholders of Pan Global, but also interested investors to get an update from our CEO, Tim Moody. My name is Sherman Dahl. I'm with the Pretium Group. I work closely along with Pan Global on an investor relations capacity, and we're joined today by the senior management of Pan Global. And just a couple introductions. Many of you are familiar with our president and CEO, Tim Moody, who's going to be one of the main presenters today. Mr. Tim Moody has got over 30 years of industry experience, the majority of which was with Rio Tinto as a vice president of business development. We're also very excited to be joined today by our new chief financial officer, Mr. Andrew Marshall. Andrew comes to us with over 10 years of experience, most recently with First Mining. Andrew's a chartered accountant and also a CFA charter holder. So we're very pleased to have Andy, who's also going to be presenting along with Tim Moody. We'd also like to mention Mr. Jim Royal. Jim is a very, very significant part of Pan Global, who operates out of Spain. He's also got over 20 years of industry experience and over 10 years with Rio Tinto as well. Also like to mention Mr. Max Pinsky, he's our corporate secretary. He's also on the management team. And this management team has been able to execute in a real way over the last couple of years. And with that, I'm going to hand the presentation over to our president and chief executive officer, Mr. Tim Moody.
Thanks, Sherman, and welcome everybody. Very pleased to give this update. Really, it's on the back of the news release that went out last week. So it's really an opportunity to just give a little bit more information on the many targets that we've been generating, the work that's going on at the moment, and why I believe we're well positioned to make additional discoveries in the near future. Forward-looking statements. Look, right up front, I just make mention that as a company, we're very strongly committed to responsible exploration, everything we do, and we're working hard to instill a very strong environmental, social, and governance culture across the company and with the contractors and so on that we continue to work with. So I'll jump right in. Just a few highlights, really, and really on the back of the news release last week that really hopefully gave that view of that we've got a lot of targets ahead of us. In other words, we've got a lot of opportunities to make additional discoveries. And, whilst, most exploration companies might have 1, 2, or 3 targets to talk about, we've already got a discovery under our belt with our first target and, a dozen other really good looking targets already identified. So lots of ways to win for investors in Pan Global. But before I get into it, I think just turn it over to Andy Marshall just to give a quick market update and where he sees copper going and how that fits with Pan Global. So over to you, Andy.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, and thanks for the introduction also, Sherman, and obviously very happy to be here on my first webcast here with Pan Global. Just looking at copper overall, I think, it's unquestionable the demand element of this metal here for the green energy transition and the significant climate change targets that have been well publicized, globally and at local levels. The needs for copper wiring, the increases in solar, wind farms, the increase in electrification, electric vehicles, charging stations, and energy storage, none of that's going away. It's only increasing. Just recently I saw a very compelling chart which highlight the production of copper from 4000 BC up to today, some 700 million metric tons, is essentially needed over the next 22 to 25 years to achieve some of these goals that have been set internationally. So the demand is absolutely there. And now on the supply side, it's largely understood that it takes, you know, a good period of time to get new copper projects on stream. And I think having that knowledge, there is well-publicized understanding of a deficit on the supply side. I think that, you know, inventories have been low recently. I mean, there is an increase in contribution from recycled components, but that's certainly not going to be sufficient to meet demand. Permitting timelines also have an impact on these project development timelines as well. And I was just, you know, chatting to an industry expert yesterday and understand, you know, there's 10 projects globally right now going through permitting challenges, you know, a lot of those in South America as it happens, but that has an additional impact for on-stream, you know, new production coming through. And over a period of time, those mines that are currently in production, there has been decreases in grade and increased operating costs, etc. So I think overall, there just hasn't been that investment over the recent few decades, really, for this demand that's coming. You know, I think it was Goldman Sachs that put out, you know, an update recently forecasting a supply deficit of between 8 and 10 million metric tons annually. And so when you think about that from a price perspective, I think in 2021, that differential was only 500,000 metric tons, and that had a material impact, an increase in the price of copper. And so price is a big fundamental driver of this. We see price going higher. And so I think right now that the incentive price to spur new investment is probably not where it needs to be, and analysts continue to forecast that that's climbing. And I think where this all sits for Pan Global is that, you know, we have this great project in this great jurisdiction, geopolitically safe jurisdiction, literally a stone's throw from the project, existing operating mines with additional capacity coming on stream. And so a company like Pan Global, that's a discovery story as much as an exploration story, I think is just in the right place at the right time to be part of the solution here for this deficit.
Thanks, Andy. As Andy said, we're onto the right. We're targeting the right metals. You know, copper's been our main target. Obviously, we've got some tin and a few other things as well in the package, but really it's copper that we're chasing. You know, we've enhanced our team this year. I think we've got a really top team of with the right expertise, both from exploration right through to development. And we've got a track record of both discovery but also development in Spain. So I think we're well positioned going forward. But I think really the story is we've got a really unique piece of land in the Iberian Pirate Belt. This is by far the sort of most, it's a superior volcanogenic massive sulfide or VMS belt in the world. You know, more of these supergiant deposits than anywhere else. You know, it's a very active mining district. We've got about 6,000 hectares. Really, what makes it unique is that it was really left unexplored since the mid-1980s. And you know, our first target on our first that we tested in our first drill holes were discovery holes, and it's led to the discovery of the copper tin mineralisation at La Romana. You know, we're surrounded by other mines just to the west of us. We've got probably the world's biggest VMS deposit at the site of the original Rio Tinto mine, where Atalaya are currently operating. Just to the east of us, First Quantum are operating the Las Cruces mine. That was one of the world's highest grade open pit copper mines anywhere. And then right immediately adjacent to us, two very large, massive VMS deposits at Asnoquia and Los Frailes, where Grupo Mexio are looking to restart mining as well. So we're in a great location from that perspective. So we've now drilled about 130 drill holes at La Romana. They've got high-grade mineralisation from surface, great geometry for an open pit. The metallurgy looks favourable when you compare it to other deposits in the belt. So we're off to a good start, and it's going to grow. So we've got, I think really the story here is we've got lots of upside potential, not only at Laramana itself, where it's open in a number of directions, but we've also got multiple other targets that we're only now just beginning to test. And given that these types of deposits typically occur in clusters, in other words, you find one, there's a high probability of finding another. We've got lots of targets with lots of indications that support the thought that we could make not only one more discovery, perhaps two or three. So it's a really attractive proposition, I think, for investors in the company from that perspective. As I said, this is a really active mining district. And we've got great infrastructure, so great location for a new copper deposit, copper mine.
Just as Tim proceeds as well, I'll just jump in very quickly as the moderator. We are going to have a Q&A following Tim's presentation. So certainly if you have questions, you can send them along to us. We also will attempt to open up the lines when Tim's done.
Thanks, Ed. All right. So as I mentioned in the news release last week, we've got a 20,000 metre drill program underway at the moment. We announced 40 new holes on new targets. So we're well underway on that, and we're on track to test about 6 new targets this year. We've got 2 drill rigs operating. We'll look to increase that on the back of any success. So a very active program. We've been drilling non-stop since the beginning of last year, and I expect we'll continue drilling well into 2023 as well. So we're still waiting for some results from Laramana. We've also got some metallurgical test work underway, modelling and cost studies as well as we move that project forward. But really, a lot of the focus this year has been on generating the new targets and getting those ready for drilling. So we've been combining gravity data with the new high resolution heliborne EM survey that we completed earlier this year with combining that with geochemistry, IP geology, etc. And so that's resulted in a number of targets of which many are now ready for drilling. So just very quickly on Laramana, as I say, it's a new near-surface copper tin discovery. It's got a pretty sizable footprint already. The drilling now expands about 1.2, 1.3 kilometres east-west. It's mineralisation from surface dipping to the north and extending at least 300 or 400 metres down dip. It's open east and west and down dip in places as well. So, this will grow. We think it could grow. Perhaps the near surface copper mineralisation could extend maybe another 300 or 400 metres to the west, where there's some old mine workings. We're just waiting for access to the farm in that direction, and similarly off to the east as well. But what's new is we've got another target called Laramana Deep that we've identified just recently from some of this new exploration information. So I'll just show you that as well. So this is a cross section looking at some of the new processed heliborne electromagnetic data. So a few things to point out here. Firstly is that there is a coincident conductor anomaly here with a gravity target, which was what we originally went in to test. And what we've now identified is we can see that the Laramana deposit or mineralisation coincides with that conductor. And now with this new data, we can see another target down dip, which we know it occurs over several lines. It looks quite large, and given the proximity to the Laramana mineralisation, this looks a really exciting target. And we'll look to put 2 or 3 drill holes into that in the next few weeks. So just stepping back, this is a map showing gravity anomalies. Now, drilling gravity anomalies has been a really successful exploration tool in the Iberian Pirate Belt. It's drilling these anomalies has led directly to a number of discoveries the Los Frailes deposit just here. But also that's what we drilled at Laramana and made our first discovery. But we've got, as you can see, a lot of other gravity anomalies in our property package, and that's been the basis of our exploration targeting this year. And we've been following that up with a lot of other things like IP and geochemistry and so on, and prioritising. And the more coincident sets of indicators that we have, the higher the priority of that target, and the better chance that we might that it represents a mineralisation of some sort. So underlining this is the concept that these types of deposits occur in clusters. So if you find one, then there's a very good chance you'll find another. So we've already found one at Laramana, and so I think we've got a very high probability here that we could make additional discoveries. So I'll just show you a little bit more of that, some of this work we've been doing. This is some of the regional geochemistry. You can see a strong copper anomaly associated with the Laramana mineralisation. And similarly, we've got another strong copper anomaly at Sarcita, the Sarcita target in the north, which is currently untested, and a number of other copper anomalies. Similarly, with zinc soil geochemistry, you can see a strong anomaly here at Hornitos, as well as Sarcita, and again, a number of other untested geochemical anomalies as well. And again, we've been combining that with gravity and electromagnetic information, and that's helping to prioritise these targets that we're now starting to drill. So a quick look at some of them. On the left here, this is the Sarcita target. It's about a 2.5 kilometre long. It's a number of coincident indicators. We're starting with old mine workings here. There were old copper mines in this area that were operating up until the start of the First World War. There's been no real exploration on them since. These coincided with a strong copper geochemistry anomaly, with a string of gravity anomalies, other geophysics, and we've got about 12 holes planned on this. So I think we've got a very good chance of hitting mineralisation at this target, and it's got plenty of dimension to work with as well. So Hornitos, this is another target which we've started drilling on. Again, coincident gravity anomaly with zinc geochemistry and IP chargeability anomalies. We've just started drilling, and as I mentioned in last week's news release, that we're already seeing some sphalerite and galena in the first couple of holes on this target. So we know the exploration targeting tools that we're using are working. So we've got more drilling to do on this target, more work to do here as well. We're also drilling now at La Jarosa, and this is we drilled a hole earlier this year and we hit about 18 metres of copper mineralisation. It's a deeper target, so it doesn't have a strong gravity and responses elsewhere. But we do have some gravity anomalies as well as IP chargeability features, and we've been hitting some mineralisation in some of the holes, the new holes on that target. And we're also looking to drill another big gravity anomaly to the south called Pilar. So that drilling is commencing very shortly as well. Just another look at that. So this is a gravity map with, again, the helicopter EM under cross section. Again, similar to Laramana, we've got a coincident gravity anomaly with an EM conductor. So this looks a really attractive target given the success at Laramana. So we'll test that again in the next couple of weeks or so. So this is all within about 2 kilometres of a very large, massive sulphide deposit at Asno-Coya, which is about 90 million tonne deposits. There's no guarantee we'll find the same thing, but we're in a great location. A bit closer to Laramana. So this is the gravity map. This is the gravity anomaly that we targeted and that's led to the discovery of mineralisation at Laramana itself. But I think the exploration information we've got here suggests we've only tested perhaps half of the strike potential in this particular target. We've got old mine workings, as I said, and EM conductors extending to the west an old IP anomaly trend extending to the east, and then this very large prominent gravity anomaly at Bravo, which also has an EM conductor on the southern margin. So given the proximity to Laramana, everything dipping to the north, coincident gravity and other geophysics, this is a very strong target for us, and we're just waiting to get access to it. And then another target up to the north called Barbacena, which again, big gravity anomaly, coincident with a strong EM conductor. We've got some surface soil geochemistry, which is showing increasing copper and lead zinc geochemistry towards this target. So again, a very strong target, waiting for access to it. So we'll get to these hopefully in the next few months. So overall, yeah, a lot of new targets, a lot of opportunities here to make additional discoveries. We're in a great location. We've got the right commodities we mentioned. So watch this space. And I think we've got a really exciting story here for investors. So I'll just hand it back to Andy to perhaps just update people on the capital structure and the cash position.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. I'll just start with the cash and, a strong cash position. We reported our Q2 interim financials, for the period ended July 31, 22, with a balance of 13.7 million Canadian dollars. And, as we sit here today, it's probably a cash balance of around 11.25 million Canadian dollars. And I think, what is another attractive feature for investors here is, when you look at the audited financial statements for the previous fiscal year, you can see that, over 85% of every dollar spent was incurred at exploration projects in Spain. I don't necessarily have all the data, but I'm fairly certain that's in the top half, if not the top quartile, for like companies at a similar stage. And I do believe that represents good value for investors, that money is going into the ground. And, as Tim has just covered comprehensively, the results are coming through now. And then, just quickly on the capital structure, I'd just, note, and on a similar theme, that, insider buying has been strong over, the last several years. And, not everyone probably follows the public filings, but as of today, collectively, the directors and management own over 18.5 million shares, which is 8.7% of the stock. And I think the continuance of that really just supports the belief that, the stock at these levels is definitely cheap. And I think there has been a bit of a general equity market sell-off, and, copper price decline has kind of contributed to some of that right now. But I think what you'd want to take away from this presentation so far is that fundamentals are completely unchanged following that change in the share price, and only getting better with the evolution of these targets. So, that's it from me.
All right, thanks, Andy. All right, so I guess we'll open it up to questions. And Sherman, do you want to take charge here?
Yes, thank you so much, Tim, for a great presentation. We do have a number of questions. I would encourage you send them through on the Q&A side. I'm gonna do the questions that are online that have been sent to me, and then if there is a possibility, and in particular any interested shareholders or investors, if you have any questions for management, we will also attempt to open up the lines. And certainly any follow-up calls are totally available with our CEO or our CFO. If analysts that are interested in having a more of a deep dive with the company, we're fully available. So I'm just gonna jump into some of the questions, because there's some really good ones. A question here from Mr. Chris de Groot out of Vancouver. He has two questions. Number one, Tim, what keeps you awake at night in regards to the project? Looks very, very interesting. And secondly, where do you see, Tim, the company in 6 to 12 to 18 months down the road? That's from Mr. Chris de Groot.
Yeah, I guess what keeps me awake is, is getting results and getting the drill rigs turning, and so we can't drill fast enough, I guess. But look, there's no real impediments to the work there. We're in a mining friendly area. We just need to work with the farmers and so on. Nothing really keeps me awake too much. We're just looking forward to results. And the second question, Chairman, was
sorry. The second part was, where do you see the company 6 to 12 to 18 months down the road?
Yeah, so I would hope that we've made another discovery or maybe two, and by then I would expect we will have tested more of the strike potential of Laramana, and we'll be advancing that to a resource. So we may have a resource out within that period of time.
Second question, or next question, is from David Elliott, the Vice President Haywood. When would you expect to put a resource out?
Yeah, so again, the drill spacing we've been doing is adequate for an inferred or indicated resource. There's a couple of things we'd like to get done. One, we think the deposit or the project has room to grow quite a bit from where it is at the moment. So we'd rather drill and understand the extents of the mineralisation before we come out with the resource. Secondly, there's still some more work we've got to do in terms of getting a better handle on the metal recoveries, and some of the cost studies work that we're doing, the metallurgical test work at the moment, will be important for that. So, we're not in a rush to put the resource out at this stage. As I say, we'd rather come out with a bigger number as possible once we've had the chance to really understand the full extent of the mineralisation.
I notice our moderator, Natasha, are you able to? I notice a note here that you can answer it live. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can allow anyone to talk that's in the attendees.
Did you want to see if Mr. Elliott has any more questions?
I would say there's a lot of questions, Chairman. I could probably just start to answer them.
Sure. Yeah, we got Mr. Todd Schwark. What's the difference between the blue versus red squiggly lines?
Yeah, so good question. Those are EM conductor anomalies. The red being stronger than the red.
And we've also got from Mr. Sam Walton, back in April, Ryan Walker, Echelon assumed 45 million tons at 1% copper equivalent at Laramana. As in July, a newsletter writer gives Laramana a resource guesstimate of 30-40 million tons. Can you please comment on these numbers?
Yeah, look, I don't want to sort of come out with get ahead of a resource, but we do post all of the published drill results on our website. So I know a couple of companies have been doing their own numbers and putting things into different models. So look, we've got certainly it's growing. It's with 1.3 kilometres of strike, thickness of 20 metres average, or with some parts of it 50 metres thick. We can quickly add tons in this style of mineralisation. What I would also say is that the higher the grade, the higher the density as well. So when you're doing your models, that's an important factor. But look, the size, I guess, is comparing with some of the other deposits in the belt of those sort of tons. Like I say, I don't want to come out with ahead of us putting out our own resource.
Also a question from Sprott Capital Partners, Konstantinos Karpis. It seems that Pan Global has a great upside potential with all new targets. Both Laramana and La Rosa appear to be the most promising targets. How many holes are you planning to drill at each of the targets, and what's the timeline?
Yeah, so we've got about 40 holes planned on new targets. At the moment, we've stopped drilling at Laramana, just waiting for access to the western extensions in particular, and we'll as soon as we've got that access, we'll turn it. We've probably got another 20 or 30 drill holes to drill in that direction. But look, the 40 drill holes on the 6 new targets. That's just to start with. If we have any success on any of those targets, we'd look to increase the number of drill rigs and increase the number of drill holes as well. So hopefully that answers that.
And from Mr. Jim McLean, what's the vision for adding drill rigs? Some of this you've already have answered on the new targets, and can you provide an update? Again, Natasha, are you able to allow the questioner to ask the question?
Yeah, I can allow Jim to talk for sure.
Go ahead, Jim, if you can.
Yeah, look, I can see Jim's question here anyway. So, yeah, Jim, it looks like you're there now. Do you want to ask the question? Yeah. Anyway, so in terms of adding drill rigs, look, we've had up to 4 drill rigs operating this year. As I say, we've been non-stop. We've been drilling non-stop since last year. So if we get access to the western extensions of Larramana, we look to add another drill rig or 2 to test that, and so we can continue the drilling on the other new targets that we've got lined up. And as I say, we have any success on any of these new targets, we'd look to add drill rigs rather than delay drilling some of these other targets that are already ready for testing.
Here's a great question. Oh, sorry.
Second part of your question, which is, can we provide an update on the Agulhas project? Yes, as you know, we've been doing some work on Agulhas, quietly over the last 12 months or more. Work was interrupted during the pandemic, and obviously our focus has been very much on the Escacena project. But we do like the Agulhas target area, and we worked up a number of drill targets. And we did complete a short drill program there just recently, and there should be some news out in the next couple of days on that drilling.
A good question from Mr. Gary Sidhu with Pathfinder Asset Management. Great question. What's your favorite target not yet tested, Tim?
Yeah, good question, Gary. I like a lot of them actually, and the thing is, as you know, exploration is a numbers game, and it's the more shots you have at this, then the more likely you're going to hit on one or more of them. So, but in terms of the ones that really line up, really stand out, you'd have to say Sarcita in the north really does that. It's got lots of indicators coinciding. Gravity, old mine workings, there were copper mines, there were massive sulfide there, strong geochemistry, gravity anomalies, IP, EM, everything lining up over about 2.5 kilometres of strike. That's a really strong target. Things like Bravo, very, a long strike from Larramana, very big gravity anomaly with geophysics, IP, EM, sitting on the southern margin of that. Again, looks a really strong target. Barbacena are like very much size, coincident with other geophysics and geochemistry. Yes, La Jarosa we're working away at. We've got some mineralisation there. It's a tougher target because it's deeper. So we've got more work to do on that to try and find where's the high grade part of that deposit. They're just some of the ones that really stand out for me. Not to forget also the Larramana deep target, that new target I showed down dip from Larramana. That's a really exciting target for us, and I really can't wait to drill that. If that's mineralisation like we see at Larramana or better, that anomaly looks even bigger than Larramana. So we could really be onto something there. It's well within the depth range that other companies are mining or exploring. In fact, most of the mines are much deeper and the exploration is much deeper. So, that's a really exciting new target.
A couple of questions, and also just to let listeners know and Mr. Moody know, I just got a nice note from Mr. Brian Kersner, one of our directors, and certainly encourage investors to go over the depth of the quality of the board of directors involved with Pan Global. Same question from Justin Dyer and also from Christian Striegel. Do you have sufficient cash to carry you through the current drill program? And how long will the cash last?
Yeah, look, as Andy laid out, we're in a really strong cash position. We've got over 11 million in the bank at the moment. That's plenty to complete all the drilling that we've got lined up and some. So I expect we've got money to see us well into next year. We'll be able to continue drilling, at a pretty aggressive pace and add more rigs and as well as we need to. So I don't see any need for cash for the next 6 months or so.
And a question from Mr. Gary Godberson. It seems like investors have become less interested in the drill results over time. As a longer-term shareholder, it has been challenging, of course, but what's the possible catalyst to get the much needed attention in these tougher markets? And is a longer drill intercepts and or new target discoveries, which I think some of these questions have been addressed.
Yeah, look, I think this is one of the attractions. I think we've got a lot of catalyst opportunities here, with all the drilling on all of these new targets. So I think a good intercept on any of these new targets or several intercepts could be the trigger for moving the price even further. Like I say, we've got an abundance of opportunity here in a really prospective patch of ground where the probability of discovery is very high. So I think it won't take much that we have a couple of good intersections on new targets that should move the price. At least that's the hope. I guess some other catalysts will be things like getting access to the western extension of Laramana. So where we could, if we continue to extend that mineralisation another 300 or 400 metres, that's really adding materially to the size and scale of that potential resource as well. So look, lots of catalysts, and look, we're continuing to work through all the exploration data, and we will generate more targets as we go along. So yeah, I think that's part of the attraction. We've got lots of catalyst opportunities going forward.
So just a couple more questions, Mr. Moody. Then we're going to wrap up the call probably within the next 5 minutes. So certainly do not hesitate. If you do have more questions, if we have time, we will ask them. If not, we will certainly get back to you directly. But a question from Mr. Jock Ross, Senior Vice President for Raymond James. What's the budget for drilling in the next 6 months?
We're still working on the plan for next year, but I would think we'd be looking at something similar to what we had for 2022, which was around 8 million. So we're on track for the budget that we laid out for this year, thereabouts. So I imagine we'll be looking at a similar number next year, but of course it will depend very much on success as well.
We did have a couple of questions, Mr. Moody, just regarding access. And I know you've got significant experience, not only in Spain, but other parts of the world. Any challenges to speak of with respect to access in Spain?
Well, I can't speak to everyone else's project, but we've in the area that we're operating, bear in mind, we're only 30 minutes drive from the city of Seville. So, we've probably got 90, 100 landowners that we need to deal with, but most of it's covered by some bigger land holdings. But by and large, we've not had problems with getting access. There's a couple of landholders that we're still talking to, and we've also got a process called temporary occupation that we can use where the government steps in, which we've actually initiated on at least one of those with one of those farms. So our experience is that with those temporary occupation processes, the farmers always negotiate, so end up negotiating. So it's more a case of when we get access, not if we get access. But like I say, the vast majority of the area that we're exploring, we have no access issues.
Good. So I think, Mr. Moody, I'll turn it back to you and Andrew just for any final comments that you might have. We do have a couple additional questions that I think we can come back to individually. And from our part and from the team here at Pan Global, we thank everybody for joining us today, but I'll hand it over to Mr. Tim Moody and Mr. Marshall to close.
Yeah, look, thanks for everyone for attending the webinar. I hope it was helpful to you. I can see there's still a lot of questions there. We'll endeavour to get back to everyone who on their questions, so that there's nothing left unanswered. And of course, if anybody has any additional questions, just don't hesitate to get them to us. Andy?
Yeah, likewise. No, echo your comments, Tim. It's been a pleasure, and definitely appreciate the engagement here from our shareholder base. So yeah, thanks.
Again, thanks everyone so much this morning for joining us here with the Pan Global webinar. You can expect to see more. As it's going to be a significantly active year for Pan Global, so we like this format, and thanks everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks, Sherman. Yeah.